The Agents of E-Commerce Podcast. The Agents of E-Commerce Podcast.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of the Agents of E-Commerce Podcast. It is my pleasure to have with me today Mani Grewal, the Senior Technical Product Manager at Yelp. Mani leads the monetization, growth, and platform strategy for auto services, a pretty major portion of the Yelp business. And her focus as well is on AI upskilling as Yelp's AI deputy team lead, a fairly important role, I would imagine, these days. Mani comes to Yelp from CVS Health, which, as Mani now knows, I'm a massive fan of CVS. I'm a 2% saver in the state of Pennsylvania, so those of you out there who are CVS people, you know what I'm talking about. But what really impressed me the most about Mani was her commitment to really lifting others. She offers her experience, mentorship to girls in the STEM arena, and offers her thoughts and trainings on Substack, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And now I could proudly say that Mani is now a published author. She has a new novel that is out on Amazon presently. I'll have a link to it within the description of this podcast. It's called Mastering AI Prompts, the AI Product Manager Prompt Library. And I think that's amazing. It's great that she's done that. And she's done all this while she's been moving her family up the coast on the west. So I got to say, I'm super impressed with what you've been able to accomplish.
Thank you so much, Eric, and thanks for having me today on the podcast.
Wonderful to have you as well. So first off, I always like to ask my folks I speak to, what brought you to tech? How did you get here? You seem to know early on that computers and science, comp sci, was going to be your place because you started as an undergrad and went on and got your master's in comp sci. How did you get there? What drove you to that direction?
Yeah. I started with master's in computer science and spent the early part of my career in engineering, building, testing, deploying, and that's how I lived my first decade of career. What pulled me toward product was that I became less interested in how systems were being built and more driven towards how decisions were being made. I wanted to understand why certain problems were prioritized over others and why these teams moved in different directions. So you always have to wait for top-down business decisions before you build. And that's what pulled me to why some products created business impacts while others just struggled. Over the time, I realized that most product problems were not just technology problems. Those were around clarity problems. And teams often have talented people and capable tech. What lacking here was alignment around the outcomes. That insight really pushed me and shaped me how I think about product management today, Eric.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. And something I see with the most successful product managers I work with is that understanding of what really connects, what's the dotted line to get to those outcomes. It's not always about technology, but it's often about how technology matches with the people in the organization, which matches with the strategy of the business and the art of the possible, what's actually possible and realistic within your current technology platform. So I totally agree that bridging those together is a fun and a bit of a puzzle-making challenge, and I could see why it drove you there.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's always good to connect the dots first before you build anything. Not everything is a consumer pain point. And when you start understanding and living the product from consumer lens, it totally changed the perspective, whether you're coming from engineering or data science or product, it does connect the dots. Yep.
Definitely. So moving through some of your past career, you ended up at Yelp. Maybe you could tell us a little about how your journey, what drove you to Yelp. And full transparency, I am a Yelp super fan. I am also a stockholder. It's true. And finally, I think I'm making some money on you guys, but that's a separate piece. But pro tip, I'm a power user. I use Yelp. And for those of you that get all those awesome restaurant recommendations on Instagram or TikTok, so what I do is I take those restaurants, feed them into Yelp, and then I bookmark them. So when I'm in that, whatever, New York, Philly, Florida, wherever I go, I can find the restaurants that appealed to me, and it's all in Yelp. So I don't know if that's it's a use case that works for me. So I'm just putting that out there. But back to your experience. So why Yelp? How did you get there as well?
Sure, Eric. First of all, thank you for being our super fan. Truly appreciate. And while I was exploring new roles, I happened to join RepairPal. That was a startup in auto repair services, and they were building this ecosystem of certified shops with very fair pricing. And that happened to got under the umbrella of Yelp. And that is where I wanted to stick to one vertical and master that niche. When working through the auto repair industry, what I found was the pricing, the calculations, all the consumer challenges that I came across, I was not aware as a car owner. So that was one of the factor that really motivated me to look deeper into how can I help all the consumers save money, and when they go to these shops for repairs, they are not overcharged. They should be charged fairly and within certain ranges that are industry approved. And under Yelp, RepairPal has that proprietary data support where these fair price indicators are shared when what kind of repair service you're looking for. But how I got evolved into this mission was I was really watching talented people, joining the change. One was the fast tech. Second was the consumer industry evolving. And third is AI stepping into it. So you have to move fast. And in this role at Yelp, I did get to try a lot of things hands-on, less of a red tape and more of leadership support. And there was no looking back. There was no stopping. And we are still planning some incredible things for 2026-27.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it. I really wish I'd had this conversation with you last week because I just dropped $1,500 on my car, and it would have been great to have some of this information going in. So for those of you out there, don't make my mistake. Check out RepairPal and do your due diligence before you go down the path of taking your money and giving it to the car repair guy. No, they do great work, but I totally can see the value, and I wish I had known about it. So, Mani, I think the work you do at Yelp is pretty impressive, but I really want to lean into a couple other pieces of your world. You really have found a mission, and it's something that I always respect when I see in others. Your mission, I would define it as sort of uplifting unrepresented voices. You really focus on mentorship and community building. Your newsletter now has over 1,500 people, probably even more since I last wrote that number. And you're providing really genuine, accessible tech insights that really are important, and especially with where we are now in this particular market and the focus of this conversation on AI. How did that happen? How did you sort of not only develop your career, but really focus on giving back?
Wonderful question, Eric. My mission really came from watching all these talented people who were getting laid off or getting left behind. I saw some of my own friends who are super talented, were not able to find new projects. I wanted to do something about it as I had that opportunity. So some lacked access to mentors, some lacked confidence. Some were just navigating massive changes in technology and struggling to understand where they fit now. That is why I started writing and teaching. And yes, LinkedIn did cross 1,600 plus last week, and we are just going to grow forward from here. And with that social presence, I wanted to make product, AI, and career growth more accessible to others. I don't want to gatekeep any foundational knowledge, especially for women, immigrants, underrepresented professionals, and people trying to reinvent themselves. They want to get into the market, but they do not know where to start from. And because this technology changes so fast, so quickly, people still need guidance through this change. So that was first thing that helped me get into this mission and put a roadmap further for 1 year. And now I am even driven and kicking off my live AI coaching sessions tomorrow onwards on Substack.
One thing you mentioned there I want to double back on is the displaced tech professionals. I mean, everybody, myself included, we all know people, we've all been people who've been displaced at different times during this sort of AI revolution. Having looked at this and thought about it, what do you think many tech professionals are missing right now when it comes to their approach to marketing themselves in the world of AI?
Yeah, sure. As we look deeper into data, more than 200,000 people got laid off in less than 2 years. I'm not even going back in the pandemic or after pandemic. I'm just looking at these 2 years. A lot of professionals who feel uncertain at this point. I think many of people are focusing on wrong problem today. They're asking, hey, how do I compete with AI? Where should I go? What tool I should download? Instead, they should start asking, where does human value move when AI handles more execution? Execution is becoming faster. We are talking about workflows, efficiencies, hey, automate from top to bottom. But careers were built around tasks and writing those requirements, creating reports, researching information, producing documentation. Many of those activities can now be accelerated and be automated very fast and dramatically with these AI tools. So the value is shifting upward. The people creating the most value today are often the people who define problems, align stakeholders, make those trade-offs, and still connect work to business outcomes. So before AI, the human in the loop is even more important now.
Yeah, and I think the people that are leading in and making the most of this opportunity are the ones that have been able to showcase their understanding of AI and how to leverage it, right? It's a tool like anything else. And the people that have been able to get in early and learn what it means to work with AI, where its limitations are, and have the creative philosophy and approach, I think is really valuable. I've tried to lean in as much as possible. I'll be honest, I fought it at first. In my past, I was like, this is like cheating. It just didn't feel, and I had a real problem with it ethically. And unfortunately, you have to compete nowadays, you have to work at AI speed.
Yep.
That's something that we all have come to understand, and most of us are trying to adopt. Hey, I'm an old dude, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but having been in tech as long as I have, I think my brain's been a little bit wired differently to adopt and take advantage of these technologies as best I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one thing I want to share is just 2 more cents on top of that. Everybody needs to remember, this is my own personal experience from last 2 years as a mentor. People are not becoming less valuable. The definition of valuable work is changing. So that speed of delivery will change. But what consumer pain point is and how much you need to build, that still a human is going to control. You cannot have all the wish list getting automated and get no value out of AI. So you have to be very careful on what you are preparing to deliver and committing. So your ROI will be directly proportional to your human loop and the definition of new definition of the work value.
I think that's critical. I want to shift the conversation a bit now to move from more into sort of how your work and the work you're doing at Yelp has evolved because of AI. So I think you've sort of been speaking out in the market, in the world, regarding this kind of dual audience framework, right? Humans and AI agents. So now for Yelp, as part of your business, you have two different, very completely different sets of requirements and users, so to speak, that you're now coding for. So I'm interested to hear how you're thinking about it from the standpoint of the actual quote unquote customer that you are developing your platform for.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest shifts I'm seeing right now. So historically, we built it for one set of audience or one type of audience, humans. Now we are optimizing for, hey, clicks, engagement, attention, conversion. Now there is a second audience system entering into the loop. These are AI agents. The human still buys though. The human still signs the contracts, still pay the bills, still get the subscriptions. But increasingly, an AI system is the one that decides what gets surfaced before the human ever sees it. So today, if you go to ChatGPT or Gemini, if you search for services like cleaning services near me or household cleaning services near me, you will start seeing the SERP cards or the shop cards or the business cards references into it than just being the chat agent over there. Now, this AI system is going to rate your business, your visibility, and put you into that algorithm process on how your business will be presented to consumers. So humans buy, agents filter, and that is going to daisy chain from here.
It's like there's two webs out there. There's sort of the visual web built for us humans, and what we kind of call my company now the semantic web that's built for agents. Actually, one thing I'm going to include with this summary of this podcast is a link. The company I work with now, Full Store, we actually have a agent experience index. It's actually an evaluation tool, so you could see how well your site performs for agents, which is kind of hard to imagine or understand, but I'll include a link. So it essentially evaluates your website and gives you some feedback on the markup and other aspects. It'll help you understand if you're actually treating agents as an audience as well as you could be. So look for that as well. So this concept of AI as a customer proxy is something we're going to be hearing more and more about, and the investment's there as far as AI goes. McKinsey & Company has revealed recently that 62% of organizations are actively experimenting or deploying AI agents. So there's a massive move here. Another report by Wolters Kluwer notes that autonomous AI agents in specialized roles are expected to reach about 80%, making this kind of transition from AI as chatbot to AI as an autonomous collaborator real. So it's happening, folks. You got to get on board, and you have to find your place and help your companies get there.
Well said, Eric. In fact, when we are looking at what changes because of agents coming into the picture, we spent a decade optimizing for human attention alone. And now agents do not have attention, actually. They have retrieval criteria. They are evaluating for consistency, for factual grounding, for authority, for structure, for confidence. And if any product cannot be accurately understood and summarized by these retrieval systems, you have a clarity problem. And not a marketing problem, actually. So yes, things are changing wildly with AI agents coming into the picture.
Definitely. And so for you, particularly in the search space, what's been shifting there, right? How is search evolving? And what does it mean sort of for the content, the small businesses that you're dealing with as well? How should they be thinking about optimizing for this new world?
Yeah. Search is evolving from discovery into synthesis. Historically, what we have seen is search found the keywords and information, and humans made those decisions. Today, with AI increasingly performing that synthesis, so instead of tens and hundreds of links, you often receive just one answer, and then you improvise on that, on the keywords and tokens that you're going to ask in the next set of prompt or next set of request. So that changes the visibility. The goal is no longer simply ranking the website. The goal is being included in the answer. So it is very important in your SEO pages or in your FAQ pages, in your visibility pages of website, you have enough of user-generated content that these bots and agents can read and project you into relevant queries in any chatbot or any AI agent.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece where the search is shifting, right? So I just found a research by Gartner. They estimated that traditional search engine volume is going to be dropping by 25% due to AI chatbots and virtual agents, as search is really moving away from humans, users like us, typing in queries into a box to actually AI doing all that work for us. I think about my fiance's dad. He sits there and just constantly talks to Chat GPS, GPR. He never can get the acronyms right, but he's constantly talking to Chat. It's doing all the research for him. He hasn't been to Google in months. So I could just see this for folks all across the board, how your consumption of going to Google is not necessarily the way you're getting your results.
Absolutely. And any of these tools can summarize your searches, help you to achieve the outcome. And these agents in the background investigates what is failing, what is working, and they're actually getting trained live from consumer queries. So that means agents are even moving closer to decision making than just creating the requirements or reading the tokens. So yeah, I think the trust is still yet to be built fully to just go and feed everything into these AI agents. But we are seeing it getting closer to decision making for sure.
Yeah, I see it like a balance of trust and sort of the general laziness of our population to just do the easiest thing possible. So yeah, but that's really more about usability, right? It's about utility.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of trust, usability, laziness. It's all kind of combined into I'll create a new index based on that myself and maybe retire, but probably won't be able to. Anyway, so Mani, thank you so much. I think this has been really interesting. And so a couple things, any last thoughts? And then if you could let us know anything you'd like to plug and how would it be best for people to find you if they want to get in touch?
Wonderful. I think we are witnessing 3 major shifts happening simultaneously. Work is moving from tasks to outcomes. Discovery, on the other hand, is moving from attention to confidence. Search is moving from links to decisions now. And the people, organizations that succeed will not necessarily be the ones producing the most output, to be honest. They will be the ones creating the most clarity. So if your product is clear enough, you don't need hundreds and hundreds of website pages. You need the right content to be found. And that's what I am seeing, that's what I am sensing, and the signals in the market. And coming to where people can find me. One, the best place to find me is my newsletter, Product Management with Money, that I actively post on daily and weekly basis for some critical articles where everybody get free AI foundational knowledge. And these days, for day 1 to day 30, in fact, I am posting how to build your own AI product manager operating system for free. Steal it, grab it, save it before it moves to archive. And these are all on Substack and LinkedIn. I write about AI product management, evaluation frameworks, and agentic systems. And then I also teach around leadership and mentoring, navigating career growth in rapidly changing tech landscape. Yeah, I think, Eric, I did cover most of it.
Perfect. Yes, you did. And I'll make sure to have links to all this within the description of this podcast, so you'll be able to find it easily. Well, Mani, again, thank you so much for taking this time. I know how busy you are, and I really do appreciate it and excited to see what you do next.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Eric. It was a pleasure chatting with you here.